Hey, good afternoon. This is Neil. Wednesday night doing the free market update here. Let's look at the S&Ps for a second and see if we can get a plan going into the latter part of the week. Reminder, today's Wednesday. We had the Fed minutes today, and on Friday. Well, first part, remember when I just said it's Wednesday. That's important because we just made a high for the week on Wednesday. But then we're headed into Friday non-farm payroll this week. And then look at the calendar next week. It gets rather interesting. It's it's going to be several weeks actually of just data after report after report after report. So next week there's CPI, PPI. There's some ISM. Well, ISM today. There's Michigan sentiment prelim, which is a mover. All kind of stuff next week. Then we roll into we've got Apple earnings and FOMC after that. Coming up into the week of like the 20th. We got Apple earnings, FOMC, GDP, and so it's several weeks of data points coming out. So, all right, look at what we got here. We have the SPOO's been trading sideways here since Wednesday of last week, right? And this was Wednesday today, so for about just 7 calendar days, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and then today 5 trading days. I don't count that one right there because that was an abbreviated, holiday session on Monday. But if you'll notice, the top of this range right here is, 38, like 35 or so, something like that. And we pressed on it a few times, which is, by the way, it's a really important point too because it's our weekly pivot for this week as well. And so we had a nice move up yesterday, ended at the highs, which generally speaking, that's going to bode well for follow through, which we did get last night and today. We got higher high last night, and then we got a move for continuation higher today. Look where it went though. I've drawn this fib from last Tuesday's high, the break that then proceeded to encompass this 4 or 5 days of trade that I just pointed to, right? We broke out of that a little bit today. All it did was go back and test this little wiggle point back from Tuesday's trade, the break, retrace, high, and then continuation, right? And that spot is also the 618 retrace from Tuesday's high to the low of this move, right? So it's a high for the week on Wednesday, and it's a 618 retrace of the break. Now, we've got, 38.50 trade right now, and you've got 65 plus or minus priced in the options chain for the rest of the week, which is, by the way, I'm only addressing the rest of this week with what we're about to talk about because once we get into next week, we've got a slew of data points. So plus or minus 65 into the end of this week, pretty clearly, if then this thing does happen to continue to the upside, then and we're so far above the over-under that I've got for you down here. Actually, the over-under is really my bearish target now. That's how far above we are. It's 37.75 down here. But so I basically have to, what I really have to do is just say, like, for tomorrow, the over-under line in the sand is going to be today's session midpoint VWAP, we're going to call that, and that's weekly pivot, and so that is 38.40 for tomorrow. I do have a lean that I'm going to share with you, but I'm just going to go with either or, bullish or bearish. Over under 38.40. It was 37.75 earlier in the week, but we're so far above that now. Bull target, it's so clear. Come on. It's this balance print up here at 39.12. If we get through that, we'll trade like you could target like that little guy right there, call it 45, puts it right back into the edge of the move up there. But the main target up here, and will very likely trade if this thing does continue up, and that's 39.12. That would be the main target. And then you got a T2 up here just in case it keeps going a little bit further. It'd be 39.45. Doubt it, but you can have a target up there anyway. Here's the deal, though. Today's Wednesday, right? We just made a high for the move. It traded right back into that little wiggle spot on the downtick from Tuesday, and it's a 618 retrace of the entire move. Ideally, really, that's it. That's the high of the move right there. So what I really actually prefer here is that's it. Like any little uptick tonight falls shy of today's high and gets stuffed at 60, 3.5, something like that, right in front of today's high. Today's high was the high, and your target down here is as clear to me as the bullish target is on the top. It's 37.75. 37.75. Just know it, live it, love it, remember it. It's the balance print down here below. It's a big HVN down here below, just like 39.12 is up here on the top. You got 12 up here on the top and 75 down here on the bottom. And say you have another target on the bottom down here, you could say additionally, in addition to a little bit below the 75s, you could target the low of the move down here at 37.40. But look at what that is. Look at what 39.40 is up here and 37.40 is down here. That's 100 away from the current market, and we've got 65 priced in for the rest of the week. So those are just like T2. You can dream, right? And that's what that is, kind of a dream. But real targets are bullish 39.12, bearish 37.75. And that's a lock, one of those two. So I've got a lean. The lean is the short because today is a Wednesday and we just made a high for the week right at that very important spot from back Tuesday. And it's a 618 retrace of the entire break. So for that reason, I would prefer and kind of lean for the short. However, you got to be prepared for either. With that, we're going over under 38.40, bullish 39.12, bearish 37.75. The one problem with my lean and liking the short is that tomorrow is Thursday leading into that non-farm payroll, and that historically, you got to be honest, historically that does have kind of a tendency to be a bullish melt up trade into a payroll report. That's the one little problem, but it doesn't matter. Because you've got an over/under, you got targets on both sides, and we're just going to trade it whichever way it goes, right? Just know that you got. Look, next week's going to be something else too. When we get to next week on Monday, preparing for next week's trade is going to be something because it is jam packed, and that, like I said, that's just going to lead us into the week after that. That's another jam packed week. So. All right, here we go. Good trade. Nice evening. Look forward to being with you again soon. So take care. Good trading till then.
Without simpler trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency. It's one of the things that won me